So we pick up from the Volta, which is here. What is all this juice and all this joy? You notice here this rhetorical question that Hopkins uses here shows us that that's where the change is taking place, because it's no longer just a description of the scene, but a questioning of the scene's significance. And it seems to suggest that the glory and splendour, the wonder of the scene, is not what the earth and life are actually usually like, as it appears to be kind of unfamiliar to the speaker. So there's this sense of a sudden change, perhaps, in perspective. And the juice and joy here are kind of representations of that life force that you see exploding so powerfully in spring, and the joy that we would associate with that. There's an alliteration across those two words to link those two concepts, I think. A strain of the earth's sweet being. By strain, I think it means a type of the earth's, or an aspect of the earth's sweet being in the beginning. It's a little slice of perfection, of Eden. So this metaphor compares the scene to a sort of subspecies of heaven, and suggests that the scene being described contains some of the qualities of the Garden of Eden before the fall and sin kind of ruined it. That earth's sweet beginning. That is what Hopkins is locating in spring itself. And he finishes this with that phrase, in Eden Garden. Then he has these simple single word clauses of sentences, have, get, that are actually imperatives, they're orders to do something. But they're not very precise. It just means to take advantage of and to experience what is being offered by this moment in the year, spring. And they create a sense of urgency to embrace an experience of this nature before it disappears, before its purity changes. Cloy is to sicken as a result of an excess of sweetness or richness. So when you maybe eat too much chocolate or candy, and you have that feeling of just being a bit sick, that's cloying. And so you need to experience spring before its proliferation of sweetness becomes so thick that it almost is a bit too much, before it cloy and cloud. And here, that cloudiness of, I imagine, a kind of juice of fruit, like apples growing and then being pressed for the juice, and then being so sickly sweet that it goes a bit rotten, and then the apple juice goes cloudy. I think all of that imagery and diction suggests taint and sin, but builds from the image of that juice that we see in the previous line, juice and joy. Here, the way that it goes cloudy shows the way that it's losing its purity. And it can then also get in the way of God and obscure the relationship with Christ if you are sort of overindulgent in pleasure. Before it cloud Christ Lord and sour with sinning. So before then, he takes us through that complete transformation that we see in the natural world, of life being brought into being. You see this in fruit, of it going rotten and then fermenting, of things being wonderful initially and then going sour. The imagery in this sort of what we'd call gustatory imagery, taste imagery, suggests the loss of joy and purity through taste. But also the S sound, sour with sinning, suggests, I think, sin itself and the sinister hiss of the snake in the Garden of Eden. Innocent mind and Mayday and girl and boy. So before it goes sour with sinning, and that the innocent mind and Mayday and children, that beauty of Mayday, which is a kind of celebration of spring and its life. That metaphor of youth being like Mayday creates a sense of sinless purity that can be kind of soured through sin. And the loss of innocence is what drives this kind of need for us to seize the chance to experience that pure joy that Hopkins associates with spring. Innocent mind and Mayday and girl and boy, most, O maid's child, thy choice and worthy the winning. maid's child here, I think, is perhaps an allusion to God himself, born from the Virgin Mary, who was seen then as a maid. And this then gives God the control whether we sin or lose our innocence, and seems to be a plea to him, because it's maid's child, thy choice. It's God's choice in this poem, um, whether to grant us salvation from this. But according to this final phrase, worthy of the winning, our souls are worthy of being redeemed and won by God. And that is where the poem ends. And you can see the structure of this, where we have that urgent plea, the significance of that final sestet after the Volta, to go out and experience all this beauty. And so we have the kind of spiritual message of the poem, to go and engage in purity and innocence before it disappears in the last 6 lines. And in the 8, we have this beautiful rhythmic imagery that captures that sensory reality of the spring scene. It's an absolutely beautiful poem, and I hope you've enjoyed it.